This is John McAllister with the McAllister Scouting Report, and this part is called Around the State. And today, my guest is Chad Murphy from Cincinnati Winton Woods High School, and most recently they were crowned Ohio Division II championships in football last year of Division II. Head coach, assistant coach, and good and bad, and I'd like to have him share that with you today. Thank you. Sit back and enjoy my video podcast with Chad Murphy. Chad Murphy is the head coach at Winton Woods High School, one of my favorite schools to go to formerly, and I've seemed to go there when Troy Everhart was there, and then Andre Parker, and now I'm looking forward to working with Chad. Chad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me.
That's good. What's your position now? I almost want to ask you. I mean, I did some homework. You're an intervention specialist. What's that?
I work with kids that have been identified and are on an IEP, individualized education program.
Good. And obviously, you're the head football coach at Winton Woods. What was the hardest thing about taking over for Andre, who was very successful? What was the hardest thing?
I would just say probably just the expectations, that have probably been here for so long. We're talking 30 years worth. You could call that difficult or hard or whatever, but I think as a head football coach, those are the kind of things you want. I mean, you want expectations. I've been places where there were zero expectations. You know what I mean? It's kind of easy to meet those kind. You know what I mean? So.
But you don't win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
How was the staff? Did you have to bring in a whole new staff, or how did that go?
It went well. We brought in quite a few guys. Some guys had left and went with Andre. Some guys that had been with him for a long time. Guys that had played for him. We brought in quite a few new guys.
Well, been winning the state championship must have done some right things along the way. Okay, let's go back and we'll come back to this because I want to spend some time with kids. Let's go back, and I first met you at Northwest, Cincinnati Northwest, and I think you were coaching before that at Mount Healthy, maybe.
Yep.
And I read some other stuff. You went to Wilmington College, but tell me about coaching in Missouri and Florida. Were those brief, or what was that about?
Yeah, they were brief. They were really brief. I was at Lincoln University, which was a Division II HBCU in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Right.
I was there for a year. I worked for the head coach at the time was old Cincinnati Bengal Lamar Parrish.
Okay.
Yeah, worked for him. And then prior to that, I was down in Vero Beach, Florida, and really, really good program, probably a top 10 program in the state of Florida. Real briefly there as well. I actually left the Florida job to take the college job, and probably wouldn't have left if it wasn't a college job. So,
well, it's good to have you in Ohio. What was Northwest? The thing I remember about you at Northwest, Cincinnati Northwest, was that you really, in a good way, promoted your kids. And you were honest, and those are hard to find. It takes both you and me back a few years, but you were honest with kids, about kids.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you look at recruiting now, starting way back when you had some players? How do you handle college recruiting now with talking to college coaches? What can you tell them about prospects? Well, I mean, what do you tell them? What areas do you talk about with them?
Well, I think, obviously the eyeball test, I think obviously is the biggest thing. I mean, and they're going to see that. That's things they're going to see. You've got to have the prototype, this and that. That always helps. But I think, is he a kid you can trust? I think the academic piece, kids don't understand how big the academic piece is. but those are some of the biggest for sure. The academic piece, can you trust him, on and off the field? And then obviously he has to have some God-given, size, whatever the position might be.
He has to have some skills,
Yeah.
but how hard he works with those. And I think the key word maybe is trust.
Yeah.
And of course, they have to trust you too.
Yeah.
Okay. They have to trust the head coach. And I'm sure with the success that you've had that kids do or players do, well, that's a compliment. And then Hamilton, you were at Hamilton for 3-4 years?
6
years. Okay.
6 years. Yep.
You learn there that you cannot, because you're coaching, you're automatically going to win.
That's right. That's right. It was tough. Northwest, they hadn't had a winning season in 21 years, hadn't made the playoffs in 22 years. And we did both those things in my second and third year. And then, every coach kind of wants a little bit more. So I heard the GMC and trying to do something that hadn't been done consistently at a place, and, gave it a whirl, but, loved a lot of kids and built a lot of relationships in those 6 years, and just didn't win enough football games.
Yeah, that's good. And then some time at Moeller too, then, right?
Yeah. And then Moeller, and, I thought I needed a break from being a head coach. I was kind of worn down, mentally, physically, I was kind of worn down. Yeah. And I thought I was going to try out the GCL and Moeller, and I didn't think there was any problems in the, in the archdiocese. I thought life was always going to be grand, but I went there at a time that, they ended up, the senior class last year ended up having like four head coaches in 4 years, and just saw that problems are everywhere, and it's just, you got to manage problems, you got to manage people. So
okay, that's really good. And then of course the success, went to Winton Woods, and you were the quarterback coach, and then possibly going to be the offensive coordinator, weren't you, for Andre? And then he moved on. I read that someplace. Yeah. Well, that's really good. And then tell me about this year. What was your record?
We ended up 13-3 in the state champ.
And then who'd you lose to?
We lost to Kings first go round. We lost to Anderson, and we lost to, who was our third loss?
That's good that you can't remember.
I can't even remember it. It was early. We started off 4-3, or 1-2, and then 4-3 once upon a time. So,
okay. What were the keys, if you can look back to that? Now we're talking to kids now. And what were the keys to that success? Can you pinpoint a few?
Yeah, I think, staying the course, trusting, and just learning from our experiences, good and the bad. I think those are probably the biggest things, because we had to find ourselves. We had a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. So we had a lot of new. We had a lot of new. So
you guys as coaches had to learn in each other, right?
That's
you
exactly
had to and understand it. Some of these guys have been together for 15 years. Yep. They just know when the coach looks a certain way, what he's thinking, and things like that.
Right. That's right.
Okay, with that being said, I want to branch out on this. What do you look for in assistant coaches? You said apparently it worked, but you brought in a bunch of coaches. You've been an assistant for 2 years or whatever lately. But then what do you look for in assistant coaches? So if I'm looking for a job, what do I want to do when I interview with you?
Well, I think,
Chad?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest things, I think number one, you got to love kids. You got to love working with young people, and, kind of got to go above and beyond. I've been doing this 21 years, and there's not a day goes by that I'm not either picking up a kid or taking a kid home. To me, you got to love kids, and you got to love the game. And if you love kids and you love the game, you're probably going to put in the work. You're going to put in the time required to be successful at whatever you're doing.
What do you mean I got to love the game? Do I like it or love it?
No, I think the coaches.
Example of loving the game.
Yeah, well, I think guys that like the game are they're probably some of the last few in the door getting here, and there's some of the first few out the door when practice is over. You know what I mean?
No,
There's
I was head coach, just so
yeah,
you know. Okay.
yeah, I know that. Yeah,
Yeah. I had two guys. We were coming in off, and we would, especially on tough practices, we would be talking to the kids, joking around. I had one coach that was leaving before I could get to the locker room. He was driving away. Sometimes
yeah.
walking off the field, he's
Yeah.
driving away.
Don't even make it in. They don't even make it in. Some of them.
love the game. I think
Yeah.
it's so huge, and you've noticed a change, with the rules. Tell me what about contact in practice and practices? Tell me, this is off the subject of what I really want to talk about, but how has that changed your thinking?
Well, I think it's changed it for the better. I try to be, we try to preach toughness and coach toughness and all those things. I think, toughness wins, but I think a lot of the rule changes and this and that have done nothing but make the game a little safer, make practices safer, which to me, I can, I can talk silly all I want to talk about. I don't like this and I don't like that, but if it's making the game safer, I mean, it is what it is. I'm all for it. You know what I mean? And
Okay.
the last thing I want to do with the practice and the amount of hitting we're allowed to do in practice, the last thing I want to do is lose players in practice because of injury. You know what I mean? So like,
Sure.
I've kind of been doing it for a while. We don't go live. We hardly ever go to the ground, and that's the last few places I've been. I just don't believe in losing kids to injury in practice. I think there's other ways to make teams tough and to make the kids tough without, having to sacrifice injuries.
Oklahoma drill and the bull in the ring
Right.
and
Yeah,
shed field and
yeah,
all those things. Those days are gone, man.
gone.
But I remember them, and
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. And here's the other thing: either a player is going to bite or he's not going to bite, and so you really can't make him bite.
That's
You
right.
can encourage him, but you can't. As far as tough guy stuff, I just think they develop that with self-confidence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't want to preach to you, but I think that. Well, that's really good. Let's talk about what else made you successful at Winton Wood. What's the key? Okay, I will tell you, I've been in the game a long time. I've been in cities. I've been in different areas. I've been with all black kids. I've been with all city kids. I've been with country. And honestly, I always liked Winton Wood because Andre and Troy, they would go get players and just introduce them to me, especially Andre. And it was always polite. Yes, sir. No, sir. And sometimes I think that's huge. And my question is going to be how do you develop that?
Well, I mean, I think, the majority of our kids come from great homes, where they're probably taught yes, sir, no, sir. You know what I mean? And being respectful to coaches, adults. Obviously we've got some that don't, just like anywhere in America, but
Exactly.
I just think it's just continuing to foster those great habits. I still, I'm 44 years old. I still get in trouble for saying yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am to somebody because they get offended because hey, I'm not old enough to, I'm not ma'am, but I still do it. I try to model it. I think a lot of our staff tries to model those kind of things, but it's a great place. And I've said that since day one, even as an assistant here, it's a great place with great kids. I mean, no doubt
Good.
about it.
That's really good. And the sad thing is sometimes people are jealous of successful programs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Ted Ginn started, we joked about this up at Glenville and shoot, everybody's jealous of it.
Yeah.
But, I remember when he started, his office was in the basement, two floors or a floor down in Glenville. I'm just telling you, people, all of a sudden they get jealous, things like that. But that's good, more positive. And I would say what do you tell when a college recruiter comes, and we've kind of talked about it, Chad, but I think it's huge. How do you tell the kids to act when they meet a college recruiter?
Well,
How, do you talk to them about that?
yeah, I mean, we definitely have conversation about it, but it's just the look at them in the eye, handshake, yes sir, no sir, the same as we try to reinforce how they should talk to any adult or any teacher, coach, that kind of thing. So, number one, we want them to be themselves, but we also want them to be, to represent. They're representing way more than themselves. So, we definitely have conversations as well, though, about it.
That's really good. Okay, tell me, this goes fast. We've been in 15 minutes. Tell me about, and I'm not a great advocate of this, just so you know, but all these guys are out there making money with quarterback gurus and lineman gurus and defensive back gurus and all Ohio football camps and stuff. Tell me about your quarterback camp. I don't know anything about it, so tell me about it. Kids of all ages?
Yeah, I've actually got everywhere from kids that are coming back from college to first grade, and it's really just it's kind of, I say it all the time on my social media, just kind of back to the basics. I mean, we literally spend a lot of time just with the basics, giving kids opportunity to throw the football in December, January, February until it's warm enough to start getting outside. I was blessed to have a high school football coach that was pretty, was a quarterback guy. Kept us busy, kept us John R. Good at Franklin and kept us busy, throwing in the off season. And, it's just something I wanted to give kids an opportunity to throw the football. And it's something I enjoy. So it's a win-win.
Right. And the key word there was opportunity.
Yep.
I think that's what I hate. I don't like it when people are abusing kids financially or things like that, or telling them not to play basketball so they can work on quarterbacking. I know you don't do that.
No.
There are people out there. And then I think the other thing is, I don't know if these guys are really, really knowledgeable or just taking kids' money and stuff. But your program, I've seen pictures on Facebook, and your program, you got, like you said, all kind of level of kids. I mean, when you do that little group shot, they're all kind of little heads by, and it's really, at least you get them thinking about it and everything.
Yeah. And I think, I used to split them kind of young and old. I'd have an older session, a younger session, but this winter I kind of just mixed it. And I love the opportunity to have young kids watching the older guys and see the older guys going through the majority of the same kind of drills. It prepares them to be able to produce in front of a little bit of an audience, you know what I mean, with older peers. Or I just think the all ages has kind of worked out best for me. I think the kids enjoy it. The older kids enjoy the younger kids. The younger kids enjoy seeing the older kids. So I think it's been great this off season so far.
That's really good. Couple more questions.
Okay.
7-on-7. You a proponent of that?
Yeah, we go to them. I've been throwing the ball, almost 20 years ago, started running the spread at Little Old Monroe. And, even then I wasn't the biggest fan of 7-on-7s because I feel like there's so many bad habits that can occur from them. It's specifically to the quarterback, whether it be the footwork or, things like that. But I like it for the competition part. Evaluating kids. I mean, they're, installing some offense, getting some things on the film that you can coach from. So there's definitely positives. I don't like going to too many of them for sure.
The last question, I agree with you. I think there's always something to be learned. And for me to go to them, I like to watch the competitive nature of kids.
Yep.
And that's what you learn. Last question, and I don't want to spend hardly any time, but how will they're taking away 10 days from this summer again, right?
Yep.
The state's doing that. How will that affect you?
It really won't. I kind of threw something out there on Twitter about, I was just kind of disappointed that we were going backwards. It seemed like we were going backwards. You know what I mean? Like all these other states and are allowed 7-on-7. They're allowed, an unlimited number of days of practice. And I really thought, and I understand why we don't allow spring ball in Ohio, because of the weather. When I was in Florida, we had spring ball, but everything was a month ahead of time. Like
Right.
state championships in Florida were the first weekend in May, whereas here they're the first weekend in June. So
Right.
there's really not an open month to do a spring ball. And I understand that. I don't want to, I was a head track coach for over 10 years. So like, I'm not trying to hurt spring sports.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of the unlimited because it allowed us to kind of, coach our kids up more, be around our kids more. Obviously I can make more of a difference if I'm around them more. But I also believe there's probably a lot of people out there that abused kids with
Yeah.
unlimited days.
Right.
And but the older I get, the more I believe less is more, and we just got to be we just got to be more efficient with our with our time. I'm not trying to. I mean, we went 3 days of weights and two evenings of practice. So we were going 5 days, but we had July 4th week off. We had the week before August, the last week of July off. So I understand, but I didn't like the fact of going backwards.
Okay. Well, Coach Chad Murphy, I really appreciate you taking some time here talking about your football program. I think it's really important that I recognize you because you have battled and won and lost, and now you've won. Now you got to get ready for this summer, and you got to get ready for next year because fans don't really care what you did last year now.
That's right.
You better win.
That's a fact.
Chad, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
John. Appreciate all you do, John.
Thank you.